DeAndre Hopkins, he is now 9 days in officially to free agency, 13 days into us knowing he was going to be available. First visit to the Tennessee Titans. Here's Coach Mike Vrabel and Titans receiver Treylon Burks on the impending visit by DeAndre Hopkins.
The first thing is we want players that want to be here. I think we want people that want to be here, and then we'll work through anything else. And so, we brought in a bunch of different players. DeAndre will be somebody that we'll bring in next week, early next week, at the end of this week, and go through the same visit that we go through with everybody, and then start the process.
With a visit like that, what can you pull from that visit? I mean, is it a recruiting opportunity, or how does that benefit you?
I'm past the recruiting. I did that in college. I think that, again, would really just want people that want to be here. And then if that works out, then you go on to the next step.
That's something that I can't control. He's an awesome player, great player. Would be fun to play with him. So, if we end up getting him, then we get him. If we don't, then we don't. But no offense to him, he's a great player. But I'm just glad. I like playing with who we have here.
Yeah, no offense to him, but I like being the guy who's potentially the number one. Stay away from my gig. That was my takeaway from Treylon Burks. He doesn't want DeAndre Hopkins there, so it's not exactly the red carpet being rolled out. And I'm just curious as to why he's starting there. That does not seem like a leading candidate for his services. I feel like, though, he's got to start somewhere. And I think his agent, and this is one of the big points I made when Lamar Jackson was representing himself, and still is, obviously, but your agent is there not just to negotiate with the other teams to get you the best possible deal. Your agent is there to tell you the difficult things that no one else will tell you, such as, I know you'll want X,
yeah,
you ain't getting it.
Right.
So we got to go out here and we got to work this a little bit, and we got to see what's there, and we got to get people to put their best number on the table, even if it falls short of what you want. Nobody is clamoring. Nobody is beating down the door. Nobody is rushing to try to get you for any price that they would have to pay. So we got to put in some work here, and we got to go around and see what's out there, and we have to see where you're comfortable, because at the end of the day, the money may be not so much different from one team to the other, that other factors will be important to you. So I don't know why Tennessee's the first place. I would be surprised if that's where he signs, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you do. I'm with you. A little bit shocked or surprised when I was like, man, the Titans, wow, okay. And I think there's a few things that I found kind of interesting about that match or possible match or marriage. One, we've discussed this a few times, right? They're just 2 years out of the Julio Jones experiment, which didn't go well, right? And not to say that, this is exactly the same, but it's somewhat the same. And we know, I think we both know that Mike Vrabel wasn't a huge fan of that move to begin with. So now here we're going to replicate kind of the same move once again. Now how much you pay him, and you don't have to trade for him this time. So that certainly helps. But that is what I found interesting. Then the second part of it, Mike, is what Vrabel said, to just start it on we want people to be here. I kind of took that as hey, yeah, Hopkins is good, but almost does he want to be here? He's made all these videos talking about the teams he wants to be with and the quarterbacks he wants to play with, and our quarterback wasn't named. So are we sure he wants to be here and be a part of that? Those are two things that jumped out to me, and that's where I found it odd that Tennessee was in this, but Tennessee is desperate too, where they quite arguably have the worst receiving corps in football. In fact, it's not arguable. It is the worst receiving corps in football. So I had a few things, Mike, that I found kind of interesting about, this possible marriage or connection we got going here.
And really, if DeAndre Hopkins sees the clip of Treylon Burks, that doesn't make him, I don't know, or maybe his attitude is, sit down, kid. I'm going to come show you how it's done. You had your chance to make the Titans not want a guy like me last year. I'll come in and I'll take over. Now, if you're the Titans, I don't know that you want that kind of attitude and that kind of potential conflict in the locker room, but the message to me was pretty clear. You're right. Mike Vrabel seems ambivalent, and Treylon Burks seems downright hostile to the possibility of DeAndre Hopkins being on.
Well, it's always a weird spot for like a young guy like that. One, yeah, like you're saying, all right, he wants to be the man, so he's kind of like, wait, why? I think I can be it. I want them to have confidence. I didn't get the feel that he was like totally anti it. But what also happens, and you can put yourself in his shoes, you like the guys you're with in the locker room too, to where you feel bad about, oh yeah, it'd be awesome to get here because you know one of the guys that in your locker might be next to you might be out on the street the next day. So that's the uncomfortable situation that players are put in with this type of conversation. They're like, yeah, he's a great player, and they want to say we'd love to have him here and do that, and then they're also thinking about their teammates in the locker room, and then a little bit of selfishness or wait, why do we want him here? I want to be the man. That can all creep in there. They definitely have a need there, but yeah, this is one that I don't typically see being a Tennessee Titan type of move. And yeah, does DeAndre Hopkins actually want to be there? That doesn't really line up with the things he's talked about as far as finding a team here to set himself up for a new contract.
There is a history between Vrabel and Hopkins. They were both with the Houston Texans from 2014 through 2017. Also, this gets back to the whole benefit of having an agent thing. We talked about this when Lamar Jackson was in position to potentially have other teams show interest in him, even if it wasn't real. It was just, hey, can you do me a favor? I don't know anything about the relationship between DeAndre Hopkins' new agent and Rand Carthon, the new GM of the Titans.
Yeah.
But this could just be a help me get the lawnmower started.
I agree with you there, too. Right. I thought about that as well.
Do something.
Right.
Do something to legitimize that there's enough interest out there so DeAndre Hopkins can say yes, because there may be an attitude by teams, we're not bringing this guy in because we know he wants too much money. So why waste our time? Why create an expectation in our fan base
That's the
that
biggest
we're going to
problem.
sign him
Right.
when we know we're not going to come close to what he wants? So please, can you help me convince these other teams that they should just bring him in and hear him out?
I don't doubt that that's what's going on. If you made me put down money in Vegas on how the situation's unfolding, that's how I look at it. That there's a little bit of a camaraderie or a handshake here. Get him in the building. Can you help me out here? Is there a prior relationship? Can we get some buzz going for the guy and maybe create a market? But I think you're exactly right. Teams that may be legitimately interested, it seems, testing the waters and people I know in the NFL that, they're scared of the money situation. They're scared of what might be down the road. They're scared of what he is physically. And I think teams don't want to put those expectations because the media right now, or I don't want to say the media, but fan bases for the most part hear DeAndre Hopkins and they still think, oh, he's one of the best receivers in football. We want him. And that's not the case. Still good, but not best receivers in football. And you're right. There might be a huge price tag that goes along with this to get it. And that's where teams don't want to be stuck with that and create the public perception of, oh, you got to sign him, we got to sign him, we got to sign him. And they want to go, well, yeah, but he wants this amount of money and he ain't worth it. And I think that is probably where the rubber meets the road in this conversation a little too.
And look, I don't like trafficking in the negative stuff that we hear and that we see from anonymous sources about guys, but you and I know enough people to know it's inescapable.
His reputation is not great. Right.
Guy doesn't practice.
Right.
Bad teammate stuff. He's got to do something to counter that. And this is where having a good agent can help you, because the agent is aware of all that stuff. If the agent has people who is willing to be candid with the agent is well aware of what's being said. Doesn't practice, not a great teammate. I got to reverse that. I got to change that perception. I got to get him out there in front of some of these people so they can see that he's ready to commit to doing what needs to be done in order to get this guy not just the best possible offer, but any opportunity.
Yeah.
It may just be the team say, sorry, too many negatives here. We don't want to go down this path, and we don't want a guy who settles for something far less than what he wants, because then he's going to come in here, he's going to have a stick up his butt.
That's right.
He's going to be unhappy that he didn't get what he wanted, and then when he starts playing well, he's going to be banging on the door for more money. We just don't want to. We don't want to introduce those dynamics into our locker room.
Yeah, I think that's real, and whether it's actually real or not, listen, that's the perception that's out there, and then I think there is some realness to that too from people I think both you and I have talked to, You hear teams like, you see New England, they're talking about, that fan base up there. Are you crazy? That's not going to happen. Billy O'Brien's the offensive coordinator. That's where I'm a little surprised by this, right? We know enough to know that there seemed to be friction between DeAndre Hopkins and Billy O'Brien. That was real, like everybody talks about it. Mike Vrabel was there in Houston. He's part of that New England regime. That's where, I was kind of studying his body language too, to the point you were saying. Does he really want this, or is this the agent and the GM kind of doing a favor? Or are they that desperate that they'll do it? But, let's not forget that, Vrabel is friends with Billy O'Brien, was on that staff, part of the New England regime, and Billy O'Brien, got roasted for what he traded DeAndre Hopkins away for, because I think Houston and Billy O'Brien couldn't take DeAndre Hopkins anymore. And they traded him for the running back that I can't remember his damn name right now, number 31 in the Cardinals, right? But there was that issue there. David Johnson. Boom. Thank you, Michael. But yeah, so that's where I found the whole
Tom Cruise
whole thing kind of interesting as well.
Dawson's Creek. That's from The Office, the dinner party episode. By the way, speaking of Dawson's Creek, did you see that Inside the NFL is going to be on the CW? What the hell is that?
I did.
Wouldn't you just cancel it before you put it on the CW? No disrespect to the CW. And for all I know, NBC owns it. But what in the world? How the mighty have fallen. What is the CW? I've never watched the CW, and I'm probably not in their target demographic. But when I saw that yesterday, I was like, good Lord, is this something from The Onion?
But how'd you know Dawson Creek was on it, though? How'd you know that?
Because somebody said from Dawson's Creek to Dawson Knox, and I know, and I don't watch it, but I know that was the line from Jim when they're playing this stupid weird game of charades where I don't know, but regardless, he blurts out Dawson's Creek at some point. So from Dawson's Creek to Dawson Knox, somebody said that on Twitter yesterday. I thought it was funny, but yeah, and it sounds like they're just getting rid of everybody. They're probably going to run it cheap. They're probably going to try to skew younger. But I'm sorry, that's not on our agenda, but I just thought of it now. And again, birthday privilege. But it's just like, why bother? Why bother? Why cling to this property that has outlived its usefulness and try to square peg into a round hole this thing on the CW? And what is it going to be? The time for that show has come and gone. Back in 1977, you only saw a couple of games a week.
Yep.
There was no way to rewatch games. There was no Sunday ticket where you could watch. This was your way to see an extended look.
No doubt.
At what happened. And it was useful. It was indispensable. It went from indispensable to useful to obsolete. So I don't know what they're planning to do with it on Dawson's Creek's network, but the CW coming this fall, Tuesday, September 5, 8 p.m. Eastern. Tune in if you know where it is to see the CW and Inside the NFL. All right, sorry.
It was the home of Live Golf. It was the home of Live Golf.
Why did I even think of that?
I don't know either, but you're right. It's
short-lived golf.
How I was obsessed with Inside the NFL growing up, though. Obsessed. I knew it came on Tuesdays, right? I think growing up, and then there was like a rerun on Thursdays at like 9 p.m. And if I didn't catch that, it came on at Saturdays at 11 a.m., and I was going to watch it, because of what you said. You only saw 2 or 3 games maybe the whole week. You wanted to see the highlights of some of those other ones, and if you didn't catch Chris Berman and what he did, this was the next best thing going. And, it'll be a little different seeing it on CW. Something Warner, I'm guessing, right? Is that what CW stands for?
I don't know. It's the CW. That's all I know. WTF on the CW. All right. So let's do this.
Yeah.
Given that Treylon Burks is the guy in Tennessee for now, and if they don't get DeAndre Hopkins, he's the guy who needs to step up. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.